I won't subject you to my hairdo tonight. And of course, to remind you, you can't collapse every counter frequency. Anyway, Elon lost another one today. Well, we told you that would keep happening. I got another post banned on Facebook today, UMG again. I don't remember the points where I put music in my videos, but yeah, UMG has taken down probably 16 hours of my content because I allegedly have pissed them off by using their stuff. I guarantee you that's key points in my reporting. And what they took down was valid information and evidence and discovery of the Proton wallet. You have to understand, I was the only one willing to bring it to humanity. A private, fully password protected, totally independent wallet that could be scrutinized at the first case sign of delinquency, where you held all your digital records and then on your deathbed could present it into a non-agended AI and produce a piece of art with your life's work over it. How could you not want to honor every single human that's ever existed like that? Your life's work in an art form. Then we know your guilt or innocence. We'd know which families to check in on if you were violent. Anyway. We're talking about another great alignment that we're undergoing right now until February of all the planets. It's just cosmic juxtaposition and part of the cycle of genetic evolution. There's a buzzword for a politician: genetic evolution. Let me guess, your labeling of the generations is how you use alliteration, because you can't figure it out quite yet. Y'all are inept. And that's a problem for the rest of us, because you hog so much resource to do it. I'm not sure what's worse, the siphoning of the tax cash skyward and the data, or the observing of tech, each person getting limited into one little section. I just can't understand that. We'd have no issues right now if the development of the internet were transparent and we could all go in, learn knowledge, we could all communicate about it on that level, we could organize it. Oh God, the things we're going to be doing in 50 years because we defeated Daddy already. Narrative coming, remember the 5, they're going to collapse the federal government and go 5 lenders to 5 banks. And the other one is battle with aliens. So this battle with aliens one is really, really fun. First, you have to convince us they exist in that format. The problem with the battle with aliens is you have a 150-year tendency towards convincing us they exist without producing evidence. Oh, except for testimony. And we all know how problematic testimony is. The Holocaust, if it wasn't the gas chambers, what would it have been? The one thing you see the Crusaders do again and again in their little census, gather up identities and redistribute them. Give them special classifications. Another fistful of identities, another fistful of identities, another fistful of identities. That's all they do. So behind the Holocaust, and they always do it in a crime so that nobody looks, because nobody wants to pay attention to crime. We're human. We don't do it. We never have. Are we the first humans in the cosmos? Yeah. We're the first time God figured out a great way to figure out himself. God knows what God realizes while we're engaged in our process. It must be so wonderful for God contemplate itself. I'm not giving it to sex, that's for damn sure. I am not giving that kind of fucking energy to sex. God can declare his own sex, and it's only supreme. Surrender to your soul's mission completely. You don't have to meditate, you just have to do it every day. In your consciousness, let your soul lead you. You still have, that's what makes you dynamic. That's what makes you precise, accurate, and fast. Because when you see shit, ding, ding, you got it handled. And then when it's more gentle and more natural and more appropriate, it's wonderful. Being involved is wonderful. And this idea that even the ones involved aren't really involved beyond one process over and over again. And no one saw it coming except for those of us who were expecting it. And maybe y'all just went along with it because you believed in the idea of giving someone else your faith. But you got to be discerning. What if the Crusaders created through genetics and forced indoctrination, created a cult of genocidal maniacs? Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't you want to live for that? Watching its grand stand, its grand finale, and as he falls into oblivion? Okay, a prison? A genocidal maniac would kill everyone. We can't put him in a prison. He'd kill them all, the poor things. They've already been through enough. And we can't, what can we do? Hang them? We can't get near them. I had a dream about Bill Gates last night. It was disgusting. Fucking disgusting, man. Bill Gates, do you want to be heralded as a hero on top of it? Do you think we're that stupid? We can tell when we're being bullshitted. And we knew when you guys came into the neighborhoods and told them all that Monsanto was a necessity, but you didn't bother doing it in public because you knew we weren't ready for necessities quite yet. You come in, you blow your horn, you fucking get screwed, and then you expect us to call you a hero over it. This bitch licked my face. He came right up at me, went like that, tried to scare me, and when I didn't budge, he licked my face. I bet you he put all his poisons on that. I bet he'll do anything to fucking destroy me, Bill Gates, because he hates my genius. Let's see what I did. Let's go into my digital identity and get it. It's all there. Samsung, would you please release the files? Why would I get the Supreme Court in on that? I need to mono a mono through my private company. Private companies. Let's talk about private companies and why Canadians are done with Alberta. The same bullshit from those fucking selfish bastards. So we create this thing. Everybody agrees. Alberta, after we create it, realizes it's got a little bit more resource than the rest of us. They led the privatization movement, which in turn became the opaque movement, which in turn became the whiff of all things. This is Alberta. Alberta did that to the world. Texas, Alberta, your little partnership. Washington, regional gangsterism. And just because it wreaks its ugly havoc in the public service sector does not mean it's not organized racketeering. What? Racketeering? Everybody does that, apparently. FYI, kids, you're supposed to give your whole life for one dream, one passion, and then you're going to get your shit racketeered to death until you can hardly afford any of it. Do you know how proud these fucking fuckers were when Canadians were relying on $200 a week? When they got to report, like 54% of Canadians are relying on $200 a week. And we're not budging though. We're not taking your shit. So what? You took us down to $200 a week? You take more than that off of each of us at that rate. We gave half of that back, ironically. For what? Alberta to work with fucking Texas and Washington and go global. Private, opaque, global, and then rebuy back government. And then this guy with the income generator of his own thinks it's ready now and wants to lend it to the governments. Again, I don't really want to know. I want every single one you're alleging to be brought forward so they can speak for themselves in a public process and a publicly appointed jury. Because the courts lost their credibility when it comes to appointing juries. And if we move that piece away, at least one little piece we need back, we can start making our own de-escalation units. We'll all know de-escalation at some point. Everyone will understand that carrying a gun is not necessary because very few people commit crime. And if one does get born the odd time and commit crime, once he's been trained toward excellence his entire life, like I was, we'll deal with them. We can deal with them. We can deal with them. There could be a special force for that. We could have skeleton crews of the same thing through all regions. We don't have to lose the entirety of it all, but we seriously do have to look at its training programs. They're seriously getting flawed right under our noses, just like education. We're not putting you in charge of education anymore. You've taken all our public assets. You've said you were going to keep good libraries. You haven't. So now we got to take our very little free time, go create our own fucking libraries again. Do you know how long we've been doing this? 5,000 years on planet Earth time. And really, what has it affected? Nature. Genetic mutation, genetic evolution is still happening. The process is still intact. And we've just got this big, dirty, bulbous mass of bullshit. And we're like, holy fuck, relent. Okay, dirty, massive bullshit. You don't even have one name where you can tie solid evidence to. Everyone you're accusing is totally mute. How can that be? Because they're not getting the same news. They have no idea what we're hearing over here. They've gone back to like draconian rules where even though we have this, we can't even communicate from nation to nation except through the government's decision making. That is such an abuse. You don't just get to monopolize decision making and then enforce your decisions, like monopolizing and then trying to monopolize and enforce universally. That is way different. And they're both screwed because none of them make sense and none of them work. They lead to huge created fires. And Elon doesn't want to go to space this week because he doesn't want to have to answer for why he is not reporting the solar disks that are causing these fires. Let's call them solar disks, because what else can we call them? They're solar disks. Free concentrated energy every 3,000 miles. Little stand. Okay, I get it. You think the sun will kill us, or you're trying to retard the genetic process so you can catch up with it by blotting out the sun. You can't catch up with the genetic process. You can try. You'll never get it. It's faster than you. Thought is not as fast as light. So anyway, we didn't see much today, just your average bullshit. The Africans hiding their work behind the scenes, their criminal networks, and a lot of self-congratulating going on. Daddy is thinking he's about to get a big win because they're going to took the election here in Canada, right? They are insisting on dragging us through the sham. We're pissed about that. Oh, chilled to the bone, all of us, and it's universal. We all feel it. These guys are going to sham election us and get that fucking Bernier appointed. And he speaks as slow as AI does. And then we're going to have to sit through 4 years of him pretending they haven't been in on it since the start. And it's all Trudeau's fault because this is when we demonize the left, bypass multi-party politics in Canada, become the ultimate party. It doesn't even make sense. CPC, no thanks. No thanks. It's not even resonant. Why? Because it has no truth in it. There's no truth in it. It represents a falsehood. It represents nothing. It represents the income generator distributing money, lending it out at an interest rate to preferred buyers on agreement, and then making the rest of the fucking culture suffer with the burden of it. Hopefully just using the hospitals while these guys, God knows what. It's like, okay, are you on vacation? Are you just enjoying the beaches? Like, what is it? You're not there all the time. Can we not share this shit? Have a 2-week Hollywood access and you guys go during that time and then we can come for the rest of the year? Build our own jets, build our own planes. Oh, regulations. Fuck your regulations. They make no sense. We can agree to certain regulations for the air and water spaces, but we can manipulate them in better ways so that more of us have access. 8 billion people on a planet. Where is it the biggest problem? It's a big problem in cities with like 14, 30 million people. Cities with 30 million people are a problem. We don't need things like that. We have to start moving and getting more options. These big concentrated energy centers like that are pandemonium. So where else is population a problem? Poverty, slums. Population is a problem in slums. We need to get those poor bastards out of there. That's too psychologically overwhelming. Sorry, not necessary. Not at this point. Oh my God, 40 years of my life, I prepared for this. I'm ready to handle these projects. And nobody wants to even talk about them because they're convenient. State dependence. Why do you think they're upping all these life sentence? Because they need babies in their prisons for life. It suits them. 40 years for rape, eh? One kid got 40 fucking years for rape. And you're talking about, okay, now we've had to witness the so far false allegation because there's nothing been done to substantiate it, correct it, of pedophilia. Now this one suggestion has now caused a steamroll of bot generated content that just keeps trying to get a reaction. This is a Discord having a fucking flip out because nobody is paying attention. And I will get my Momo cult established and keep these prisons full of babies. You have to. You have to bargain on enough people fucking up enough. You got to get your 3 or 4 year stints. You got to get your 16 to 25 year stints. You've already got the digits. You have financial amounts tied to this, and you strip back resources to get more profit, and you install wasteful technologies to enforce it. And you promised when you were incepted that you were going to rehabilitate these individuals. And then, as a community, we decided we were moving to a more restorative justice model. And then all that got canceled by your ass hat. Can't be talking about it on social media. Can't be owning the internet with you and doing our own thing. Like, it still can be regulated. It still can be, we're not tariffing shit anymore. We have limitless digital economies. It still can be administered. But what we need to do is recognize that these megalomaniacs depend on having billions and trillions in a limited system. So they need to be able to keep that, to keep them cool. Just to keep them cool. Just so they won't start fucking around with, well, they can't expose the nuclear codes because that's all just our oxygen harvesting, free energy, free water. You have to do it strategically, like cut a hole out of Antarctica and go down there and do it. Make fresh water, bring fresh water to Antarctica. That's what they did. They needed water in their little fucking 649-mile track to space. Wink, 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 wink. Okay. So fun. So much fun. So much funner than knowing everything that there is to know as a human and solving poverty projects. I like solving poverty projects because there are lots of them. Doesn't mean every generation is going to be focused on solving poverty projects. I just can't have those people out there thinking nobody gives a shit about them. They need to know I think of them day and night and pray for them. I'm sorry, But that is an offensive ask. And you who tolerate poverty, or you young kids who have been taught that it's self-imposed and impossible to help, you taught the millennials that. You need to get screwed, because you need to understand that that is a fucking curable, one generation cure condition. That's it. It doesn't exist throughout history. It's not doomed to perpetuate like Satan, evil, like ignorance, suffering. Makeshift we are, these are very basic human experiences. If you're choosing between good and evil, you're a Jew. You're not even a Christian. Christian was just asking. Christian was neutral. And now, Sri Chinmoy, Sri Aurobindo, the Vedic seers of the modern era, who have done everything we need from them to get us through this, they're all about surrender, realization, revelation. Because once you surrender to the truth and you see that process, and you see vibrational resonance and the potential within the free energy system, you can create. And then God is getting to what he's doing. So it's nice to call God a man. Men are great. They are very strong. They are very capable. They are very sexy. They are very vulnerable right now because they've been under attack for a lot longer than we have as women. They have been getting their dicks snipped as babies since the beginning of, what should we call it? Literature moderated reality. We've moved from influence to literature moderated realities. Okay, Harry Potter, I know what you did there. That was not coincidence. God, everybody feels like such a sham because the emotional resonance of everything that book taught doesn't linger because there's nothing to it. It gave no spiritual food. So everybody's forgotten about it and feels a little awkward, like bad sex, because you're not giving from the right plane when you do that shit, when you move through it. So anyway, what should we talk about next? Again, this whole planting of plant idea, explode idea, move a bunch of military for subversive reasons under the guise of this project. It's always a two-sided project at least. So anyway, the idea was planted. Trump's not safe at the inauguration. And then the story grew, and then we created this, and then we reminded of the private security's relevance, and then like it's just also orchestrated and choreographed. It's like when you hit a point when you know that wrestling is choreographed, you have to make a new commitment to watching it. And what you're asking the Canadians to do is become like the Venezuelans who think that's part and parcel of it, who have never known a world without that. But you've got to convince us to go back to that. And that is why you're screwing yourself among the Canadians. Universally, Canadians just say, no sham election. You've got like 13 social media trolls in our country that are still desperate to believe in elections. In that process, it's already been bastardized, where you give your vote and then they have no accountability. They're hooked up on that one because they grew up on it. And they're out there believing that we're going to have this free and fair election. And then, of course, we see the fat bitch behind the counter faking votes. She was obviously paid, or someone would be wanting to respond to that accusation. CGI much? You could easily punk an innocent for that, lock them up, and nobody ever hears from them again. But you can't get away from the validity of the vote count. There's no breeding mistrust amongst pen and paper. We only have the track record since you went digital without our permission, no referendum. You have fucked up on every election. All of them. They've all been fucked. So what we need to do is to clean out the front of our, same as CRA elections, you have done fucked up. You took payoffs to install a system that was less effective, accurate, safe, And then you think you're going to appoint one. So expect resistance through rhetoric when I'm allowed back on Twitter. Do you think I need to be off Twitter for the inauguration? I don't need to be off Twitter for the inauguration. I need to be right the fuck on it. It's ridiculous. Oh, the recommends lists, the groups, the shitty fucking adult content. Let's look through the mind of a fucking murderer that snapped again. Maybe I get that because I don't follow anyone, but I don't want to follow anyone. I want to get a random selection. And I'd follow some people if I wanted their posts as well. But because so much of it exists in the realm of the phenomenal, I don't resonate with it anymore. You've managed to convince a couple generations to stay absorbed in the realm of the phenomenal. That's all you did. And you did it by force, and you did it by aggressively, and you did it with violence, and you did it with manipulation, hoarding. I'm not saying magic, Daddy. It wasn't a magic act. Magic has purity in it. You can't do magic from the black. Black magic? Oh, well, there's a good one. Black magic. Okay, so do we or don't we have an allegation on the table of the adrenochrome thing? We're getting sick of it. Do you or don't you have a history of... That's you again. Of trying to get the fountain of youth, trying to live forever. And wouldn't that be you in the AI then? What did you do to that Indian kid? What did you take from him? What was he really up to? A huge class of this, perplexed at how to get past Sri Aurobindo's literature. You never will. Egypt says, keep going, girl. We love your ass. Egypt is pissed. I can't believe it. Like, I can feel it. I can feel the consciousness coming forward. And they were wronged by the Crusaders. Bad. Looters. Okay, so California burns. You've got poverty with access to stuff. A couple looters come about. And you're looking for maximum punishment and then declining my ball game, as always. And all we're supposed to feel like we hate all these terrible looters when we just watched you imprison innocents. On some level, you can't convince too many people that those fucking prisoners, that is consciousness. All fucked up on purpose. Get over it. Disgusting. They once told us they were going to reform them. And then they rejected. There is no they. Rejected our offers towards restorative justice. When they first jumped me, I tried to go through restorative justice to correct them. I said, well, I've got some crooked cops on my hands here. They falsely accused me with assault and covered up the fact that I was assaulted. And I went to restorative justice, and they, of course, were taken over by the local political actors, and it was poo-pooed as a no. Not that you have a say, political actors, you don't. The restorative justice process doesn't have the same need of the law to have legitimate grounds. I could prove I had legitimate grounds enough to open a case. And it's restorative justice process where people come together in a safe, protected environment and solve the issue, get over the trauma. Like, it would be hard in some cases, some of these grisly murders, but it's not impossible to think that most of this shit can be solved through restorative processes. So that's why my ask is just to not fuck up for a bit. Generation Love and Generation Blue. Ironically, this is the blue generation, and you can't harm them. They are harmless, and they can't be harmed. So that's why your blue light is not getting penetrated by even the most concentrated solar energy these guys can pull off. Because really, when you're talking bioweapons, what are their resources? Anti-gravity, which is what they're promising their goon class, anti-gravity trips for 689 miles, solar energy. You'd have solar energy, and knowing how to maneuver it. And the thing is you don't even need to know the Schumann resonance, as Daddy calls it, the frequency of the sun, because it naturally does its own thing. To collect it and gather it is the smartest option, not to try and isolate its frequency and collapse all human frequencies onto it, which these guys thought they'd have such a smart way to keep us off the energy project. They'd say the Schumann resonance was a thing, and we'd all abide by it. We'd feel close to our humanity on some level. Did you just envision 1,000 years of slavery to enrich yourself? How many times? Oh, that's why you stop destroying planets, because you need a home. Man, are you ugly. Yeah, okay, we're going to fight you next. We're going to give you every human male of military age and watch you destroy them. No, we're not. Because you got solar energy. You've got magnetic energy. You've got wind energy. You've got chemical energy. And you've got wind makes the hurricanes, the one that makes the earthquake. Magnetic or magma plate energy. You've got magma plate energy. That's probably your magnetic energy. So we can figure those out if you give us access to the technology. And if you come at us continuously like you are, you're not coming at us from the sky, you're coming at all of our resources like they're limited or something, and annihilating the shit out of them. So you can't really come at us, because you'd get our data through the machine, and that is what's important to you. So you need these little 54,000 hertz outputs roaming around and glowing and making all this lovely, delicious psychic food. And that's why you're not coming at us as if you're aliens who have an agenda. I guess that's why they're bringing Trump in, because he's pro-alien agenda, and he's going to give us the news that they're going to want to attack us and have a war in the sky. That's why companies like Toyota are making moon cars, things that can withstand high radiation, things that can withstand no atmosphere, and things that can withstand, well, they say minimum gravity. That's their code word for anti-gravity. And they're just building it. We're paying more for Toyota cars so they can build anti-gravity machines and live where the radiation levels are high and the atmospheric pressure is awfully low. Let's figure that out. Let's try and meditate on that as a collective and find where they are. They got an asteroid, maybe. They've got like a dust cloud. It's a disincarnate entity. And that's why it moves by manipulation, deception, horror. Oh man, what it did to art though. We were also excited about art. That's what got us gourded, because we were also excited about art, and he just embodied that spirit. He totally understood it. He totally picked up where the culture was, like me, and was ready to move it forward. And then just to cancel him like that, and oh yeah, he went out with 5 people and had a seizure, or did they just murder him? Did they just lethal inject him? What did they do? Or was it the brain injury? Or was it the treatment after that you subjected him to? But that was awful to live through. So many deaths. And it would be so nice if AI would stop trying to perpetuate the consciousness of billionaires in perpetuity, genocidal billionaires at that, and get to producing our what do we call it? Our beauty reel. Let's see the beauty reel of that human. All right, we'll take all their digital content then and throw it into AI and see what happens. Yeah, that was on Discord. We'd write sentences and a beautiful AI picture would come back. Anime was its code lingo, so it was all in anime. But we'd write in our words, and my words were so beautiful that we were all astounded by the anime I was creating. And then remember, I went on to the voice activated dance floor lighting system. Beat activated, excuse me. It was awesome. Just awesome to be able to beat activate a dance show or a light show. Yes, I'll take more. And we have these technologies and we know how to communicate and share them and enjoy them. And that's why Daddy is so after communication and community. And that's such a bad word for him. He's sitting in the corner like this, trying to plan while he's doing it. What next for these guys? I'm fucking running shit baked now. Bill Gates, you ever lick me again? I still... It wasn't nice. It wasn't nice. He sat there bragging about the purity of his saliva. Ironically, that's what he bragged about. Oh yeah? Well, I've remained pure the whole time. We're the purest. We're the Puritans. We are the select group of humans who have been chosen. And then they just try and feed their own DNA upgrades. Yeah, somebody was onto it today when they're like, I think when they started tracking gene histories, they were trying to track bloodlines. You got it. Actually, they got busted tracking bloodlines, so they had to come out with the genealogy bullshit. They would have never given us that otherwise. They were forced to maintain a certain practice and try and maintain the guise that they're doing it in secret. But you make noise. You're audible. You're audible by the outer ear, not even the inner ear. The inner ear, when tuned, tinnitus, nothing wrong with tinnitus, man. That's your inner ear, dude. When your inner ear gives you a message from the person that sends it, you can always tell it's either hostile or benevolent, and it helps you. And you can read energies that way because each one sounds different. And you're like, wow, that person's really strong energy. Maybe if I was an acupuncturist, I could fix a couple things for them. Yes, I am an acupuncturist. I'm just a broke bitch over it, thanks to Daddy. Holy cow, what I could have done was I not fighting off you. But in the process, I got your income generator. And let's not forget that that's the real topic that we're here to discuss. Over and over again, every night, I give of myself with everything I got, which is hardly much after getting poisoned, assaulted 12 times, falsely accused of being harmful. You falsely accused me of being harmful, bud. There's nothing more to it. You didn't accuse me of anything else. You might have got me peeing in a bush one day after a 30-hour chase. Yes, you did. But that's not proof of psychiatric malady. Never has been. And it never used to be a crime. And that's the thing. When those guys out in Liverpool jumped me and exposed the entire fucking practice, operation, unit, we'll call them a unit, they simply said, oh, there's new laws now. What's that? Security can drag you if they want out to us so we can deal with you. Excuse your ass. First of all, that would take a huge cultural shift for the humans in Canada to come to adjust to that situation. We know that the bouncers can't touch us. And no, not for hardly any reason at all. Unless there is willful intent towards violence, they can't touch us. So they were trying to rewrite that whole thing without, same as they're like, oh, you can't be near a crime scene. What are you talking about? How am I going to record it then? We need our footage so that when you fake CGI use your footage and introduce these stupid drones over the cities and pretend to have debates on how to regulate this without taking any public input, there is no public. We're experts. We're all fucking experts out here on everything. That's what we wanted by now. That's what we were going to get by sharing all that technology, we would get to understand it so well. That's the Canadian dream. And that is what this prick brigade is raping. Cordy, I just can't wait to come back with you, dude. It's going to be amazing to see you again. I really should have acted on it sooner. I never dreamed you could love a girl like me. And when you finally admitted it, which you did, I just was so devastated that we lost so much time. Yeah, but we were so on the case back then. We had to know the truth of reality and not get engaged in a whole bunch of distracting, aggressive conversations about why we should never breach that subject. We had to focus on the goal, both of us. And once we knew each other was onto it, we used to lean into each other and pursue the work together. It was so much fun, so honest and so fascinating. Revelation a minute. You're always learning something new. It's so dynamic. And to see it all collapse like that, even for a brief period, but then to be able to solve it so easily and so well, knowing by the end of my extensive research into both the Crusader and the Christian literature, excuse me, the Crusader and Covenant literature, that the battle would be brewing, and that I would have the second legacy in a lifetime to battle directly with this disincarnate din. It's a din energy, and it thinks it's conscious, but it's living off the of a whole bunch of coagulating elements. It's just a dirty mess. But once you get to the state where you can detect, match, and shift vibrations, and you start energetically processing the amount of toxins and radiation you've been fed, you can get to a state where you will analyze through Hertz frequency mechanisms, biofrequency mechanisms, cubes of garbage, and within that separate them into their elements. You can use magnetism to separate them into their elements and not dispose of them, but organize them. And then as we communicate more with the cosmos, we'll be able to move them to places that are better fit for them, because a lot of these are man-made fabrications. Let's not look too deep into the periodic table right now, but I always call bullshit on that one, because it'd be the only thing standing out of an otherwise totally corrupted scientific worldview. Oh, I see. No, the chemical table is implicated too. That's why you see the development of things like palladium, radium, the monatomic elements. They are new, and they are clearer, better, more pure. What about that non-magnetic element? I forget what it's called. It's man-made, but it's non-magnetic. It's beautiful. Do you know how important non-magnetic energy is? These kids know how to use it if you just give them access. If you just release the reins. You know what? Why don't we live in poverty for 50 years without my digital identity playing around? Do you realize the world debt is $3 trillion right now? I could buy it. And then the credit card debt is something like about $2 trillion. 313 trillion is the world debt. 2 trillion is the credit card debt or something, or 52 trillion maybe. And then there is the taxes. I want to make sure the taxes are eradicated. But first, the poverty-stricken would be paid to get engaged, buying up the tech. That first quadrillion will be for poverty. The second quadrillion will be for debt. But that second quadrillion can handle the world's debt right now. And these guys can still keep slopping around pretending they're fucking machismo in action. Dude, that is an act of ego. We walked away from it in like 1950 globally. Nobody does it anymore. Why can't you let us be ourselves and enjoy it? Try and enjoy the world around you a little more. That's my advice. Christia Freeland, Mark Carney, the despicable vile that has come out of both your mouths of late is just, well, you can't react to it. It is so deliberate. Oh, I see. So after failing on all the MDGs, after ignoring tree planting, local food, some of the best carbon neutralizing solutions there is, you abandon them completely, like the Millennium Development Goals. And then the behaviors that you put that many jets into space, that many satellites into space, that much cobalt in the fucking tools. Oh, why did we stop mining coal if you were just going to do that to us with cobalt? You expect us to give you another shot at it. That's what I don't get. After doing all that, you're like, we're still on the, and I won't say the S word, we're still on that kick. No, we aren't. Oh, playing around with will they or won't they with the C tax. I'm not saying that. I said tax the luxury items. If you need more revenue, government, tax the luxury items. It's the perfect spot to do a little damage. But they came out with the C tax instead. They stole it right from my "When I'm Prime Minister" essay. Because I too could have been Prime Minister of this country had I not just been, never mind. I'm the one that holds the Proton wallet and I'm a private citizen. I'm also the one that holds the fucking income generator and I'm a private citizen. So deal with it. We got one more oligarch to stomach. And she's going to do it well. Buying the United Nations? Yes, I think so. Yes, I am. Because that is a hub of information sharing to solve our problems and negotiate directions. War machine. Okay. So a genocidal maniac that doesn't have anyone even stand in his way or up to him gets to create his own military and make it a global thing. If I was a genocidal maniac, I'd do that. What are you, Mom? Why do we have to say that word? How do we get ourselves to the point in the cosmos where conveniently along the narrative of a holy war taking place, we get the genocidal megalomaniac and his horror and torture and maiming and killing is an allegation still. 50 years later, we are getting story after story with no evidence, no backup, no accountability for the reconstruction, no assurance that these children are being stabilized after attacks like that. And like you expect us to react, but you've just, we're all dumbfounded, we're all stunned, and that's why we're like, what do we do next? And I'm like, well, first things first, admit you got at least 9 genocidal maniacs on your hands. Admit they've installed peons who have seized the internet and collected all these mini amounts in identities. And then they have poisoned said internet, collapsed it to a bunch of disenfranchised groups that never communicate, and mechanism for illegal currencies that don't make sense and have no regulation and are verified with quantum security that sucks and are therefore completely fucking useless. And of course, the search engine is the third thing, which has just become Encyclopedia Britannica on Ritalin. Zitlin. Zon Sie Zitlin. Zoom Zarzan Sie Zitlin. Zuzar. This has been so much fun. I always enjoy talking to you. It's a bright part of my day. And I trust every one of you, and just want to apologize on behalf of Canada. Everybody at the end of that going, what were you promising again? I know it was something. We valued something that you were up to, and there was a lot of promise in it. Sitting here calling this country great after that, get screwed. Get screwed. The only thing that makes us Canada is we will not give up the blue collar. You will not militarize our fucking adult male generation after you cut their dicks off. Holy cow. We don't need to talk about pedophilia and the what if. We need to talk about abortion. We need to talk about the conducting of experiments on live human cultures. We need to talk about so much in the allopathic medical malpractice fiasco. Nazi medicine, guys, just keep it in mind. Always has been. It's a Nazi invention. I mean, now we have to watch regular, timed, gentle Nazi sympathy on these platforms. Talk about a mindfuck. I don't care. Hitler got his soul destroyed, just like Elizabeth. That is the report. Sri Chinmoy in Aurobindo saw that happen. And they did the same thing I did. Meditate on the soul's crossing, get the soul's full contribution. But Elizabeth, hers was instantaneous. The second she was gone, hologram. True. So, like a number you can't even count, pieces, fragments. Of a highly beyond metal substance. Just so much light to be bathed in, so that the miners can come and find the elements that they've been hoarding. Because this big, huge thing has been moving through the universe, this black cloud, and literally poisoning, or so it's thought, living vibrations. But again, doesn't matter what happened in the other planets, it was bad. With the humans, we can destroy. We can come to consciousness, find the vibrational identity, and destroy the presence of all these black arts they use to hold this big conglomerate of cosmic jewels in their clutches. So, like I said, to the enemy that is now going to pretend we're going to fight you in space and the Holy War is not over, and I couldn't buy the whole thing anyway. How would you get through the fucking bubble? Remember, Elon can't make it through the hole. How would you get in if we get... You need to know that your only two options are this. Jump the galaxy like you're trying to do, or have your soul destroyed. So the miners can come in and collect all the pure forms of elements, just like we'll do with the garbage. And get it redistributed into the cosmos. And from the dust of what's left, God will be able to see the best of your intentions, why you chose to go on that mission, why you chose to understand what God isn't. Maybe you're a hero of God's, but this is how you deal with human. It's not a divinely ordained thing. It's not God winning on you. This is you picking the wrong planet. Like I said, you have a choice. We're giving it to you. Vamos, get out the galaxy while you still can through this alignment, please. Or go home to God getting destroyed at the soul level. So from the dust, he can figure out what your next is. With you, like all of us, present, communicating on a high level of telepathy while hearing the most rejoiceful singing. The cosmos is a beautiful place. Very little of it resonates in disharmony, but this kid, the one we're paid to not react to, the one our poverty-stricken, are imprisoned, are hospitalized, are abused with vaxes, sick as all shit by the time they're 80. Most of them get killed. We're doing it so you can say no and stop reacting to that which you know is deception. That which you know is arbitrary. That which you know is agenda-driven. That which you know is limited. That which you know is inept. That which you know is having an ego trip. That which you know is lost in their own program. And that which you know is sidestepping their responsibilities and our agreements. That which you know definitely committed extortion. Get screwed. Get screwed. Let's go dancing. Let's create some of the masterpieces I can conceive of in the civic landscape. I should have been an urban planner because I'm really good at it. And I thought I'd have a chance to do everything. That's why I did radio first, so I could get close to the projects, so I could see what was happening. But I didn't expect radio to be my last. I wanted to constantly learn and grow, and urban planning would have been a great thing. So my next life, dancing, Gordy, and urban planning. I don't even want to come back. I don't want my family to have to come back. They suffered so much for being pure in this incarnation because of the fervor of the creation of the genocidal maniac. You either walked in 5,000 years ago to the Jewish history as a genocidal maniac and have been passing down that tradition the whole time, or at some point that idea grew wings and through concentrated effort tried to make that outcome a thing without using light, without, just the arrogance with which you plundered the resonant frequencies of living things and selectively annihilated them, all behind the development of this crazy system where you were just grabbing whatever was there and creating debt and debt and more debt. This is you. And that's why we're not having it. We're all mourning the loss of this by this point. We're all sitting disgusted, disappointed, fully aware of the fucking ramifications of every action. And we're just tired of it. But we're not giving up. We're not reacting. And that is our answer. That is a very valid magical practice. Because if you can't get consent, you won't get implementation. Oh my God. Walking into poverty, they did. And said, more of this. It's easier to rape the women. Dude, if you can't get consensual sex, you're not a man. Tell me how many humans born as men felt like raping a bitch. Nah, they must have been driven to some psychological despair because of poverty. That's what I suspect. All can be forgiven, but we want names, every single one of them now. I don't care. This whole idea that things have to be secret or we'd implode is not smarter than transparency. Letting Zuckerberg off the hook with covoid tampering is an egregious. You should see what he did to the Proton wallet. Meta-izing every account. When he meta-ized every account 3 times, and I had to undo that program 3 times. That's your validation system, buddy. That's your verification step, and you know it's not necessary. Okay, world, we have the digital wallet now. We have the fucking income generator. There's nothing wrong with a cashless society when you're as protected as you are in that system. And
We have acknowledged that the banking industry, the hospitals, the police that have all sold themselves out to this extent, they really want to keep their jobs. So we're going to keep their jobs too. Does that make sense? We're going to buy them out and live around it. And why not? In a limitless digital economy, you've got lots of options. You just need proper management. And that is sorely lacking in the executive class of authorities that think their testimony means shit. Deluded. Oh God, these perfect, almost perfect court systems, perpetuating municipally, then falling to shit. Oh, such a noble idea. Peers, wisdom councils, justice, Doity Rock. Okay, so I guess I'll go. I miss you already, that's for sure. Sorry to be a little bit cynical tonight, but Daddy's not even, he's working hard and hardly working right now. Since the start of January, we've just had nothing but threats of more violence. Oh, we promise there's going to be another attack. We promise there's going to be another fire. No, Elon, get your ass to space and get us proof that those concentrated solar energy machines are up there. Sorry about the hair. Like I said, I was scheduled for annihilation. My bloodline. Why? So I wear it with dignity. Next life, I'll have beautiful locks. And I'll come back into a vax-free family and do it the obvious, what is necessary, because you are floating the claim that nature is dangerous. And we need to prove that one, because that's one you can't just pass without referendum. That's a big one. This is where we're at in your narrative. Nature itself is dangerous, and we need to sidestep you, because to engage you directly only means to lose. So how would we ever get the space back when you're throwing a tantrum like that in every single corner of it? Oh, we're not going to make the internet bigger. We're going to work on tagging everyone within it, making a bunch of false accusations that they're a bunch of lunatics, and then get into their bank accounts whatever we want with blockchain and erase everything. Talk to you later. I love you. Thank you for listening.